Coming up on this episode of Inside Sports, host Tara Nichols dives into the exciting and evolving world of esports. What started as a club is now one of the new varsity athletic teams at Augustana College.
And not every school is as lucky as us to have a facility as nice as ours, or being able to dedicate the funds and the resources to it.
Plus, she'll break down the success these young athletes are already seeing after their first year as a varsity athletic program.
The highlight was definitely that night. I had a whole weight off my shoulders that night, and I was so happy.
All of this and more coming up on this episode of Inside Sports.
Decades ago, competitive gamers could only be found in crowded arcades with pockets full of quarters and hours to spend earning the coveted high scores on Pac-Man or Space Invaders. Today, competitive gamers are found in state-of-the-art esports facilities with college scholarships and conference titles to show for it. Here in the Quad Cities, the Augustana College Esports team is growing fast in the competitive arena, with players and teams in a variety of games such as Overwatch, Super Smash Bros., NBA 2K, and more. Growing the new, often misunderstood program hasn't been easy for Director of Esports Joe Loomis, but the commitment is already paying off.
Oh no, it's aggroed on you. No.
Joe, first of all, tell me a little bit about coming to Augustana and building this program. It's something that you've done before, but coming here and putting a little bit of experience behind getting this program up and running at the varsity level. Tell me a little bit about what was involved with that and getting things going.
Augustana had an opportunity to come and do esports full time, and it's my career now. And I was excited to come into a school that was going to give me the resources to really push what collegiate esports can be forward. It's not about sitting at an old computer in some basement of a room, but giving our students the right computers, being in a facility that is very visible to the public like any of our other traditional sports, and having the resources to provide them all of the opportunities to be successful. And that's what Augustana was giving me when I took the job here. And I've been lucky to have administration behind me that is allowing me to move those things forward. Whether it's building our new facility that we're in, opened up in August of 2022, hiring staff that I get to pay, having the backing to go and reach out for partnerships, whether it's our partners with FitGamer or our partners with Carrera. All these things are not only first for the institution, but first within the nation to be able to go and reach out and make those partnerships so that we can push what esports development is as a whole within the industry.
Moving this from there was a club esports program to a varsity esports program. What are the most visible differences for people who, you mentioned the facility, they can come in and see a lot of the differences, but the changes to the competition and to the structure and to who you can bring into the program based on making that move?
Yeah, and there was a club here. It started in 2018. And I've been lucky to retain a couple people that were really high-level gamers out of that club onto our coaching staff. And the big difference is the gaming club was really here for fun.
The club was very restricted in what it could do because it was a club in its nature. So all our funding wasn't as great as actual facility and like athletic division would be. And most of the roles were run by students. We did have a little bit of help from faculty, but it wasn't super hands-on. And the real difference is here, they have a much larger budget, more support from the faculty.
I've noticed that when it was student-run, it was still good, but there was a lot of disorganization. It was mostly a student would be coaching it, and there would be more student-led, no faculty, hands-on type of things. If we wanted to find a tournament to go into, we would have to do it on our own. Back when I was maybe a freshman, sophomore, and originally doing it, there was actually a facility that allowed us to go in and verse other local colleges. Now it's more, everything's online, and it's a lot easier to get things going together.
We've mentioned a couple times this facility and how accessible it is, how visible it is to other people walking through. Tell me a little bit about this upgrade in particular and how much of an advantage that gives you when you are then bringing in these players and all of the opportunities available to them.
Yeah, so we were the club, and last year we had this weird transition year where we weren't a club, we weren't part of varsity athletics. We were on residential internet, and I think any of the viewers can be like, I know how my internet is at home. And they're like, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and bad internet does not work for us. And we were on old computers. You know, anyone that's worked on an old office or school computer knows, you know, what it feels like when it feels like it's lagging. You know, it feels like you're stuck in quicksand.
When we were doing the club, we were in I believe an old culture house, and we only had about 6 computers, and they were mid to low range computers. So not only was there a limitation in space and how many people could play at one time, the computers weren't as fast as these really nice computers behind me are. It was a very expensive facility to put in. Each computer back there, for you tech people at home, it's got 3080s in them, which was like the latest generation of graphics card.
A big piece of why we needed to have an improved facility was to give our athletes an advantage. You know, as we take a look at our computers, bringing in computers that have great graphics cards, that are going to run fast, that are going to run cool, to make sure that they're going to maintain their health as a machine. Monitors that are 240 hertz, that are really fast, upgraded peripherals on those to make sure that every one of our keystrokes is hit, every mouse click is registered to our network, and having a dedicated line of fiber coming into our facility so that we had no hiccups when it came to the internet is a big thing for us.
We'll return with more from Coach Joe and others after the break. You're watching Inside Sports.
Welcome to Keeping Up in the Quad Cities. I'm Johnny Marks.
Join host John Marks as he explores nonprofits and organizations who provide a variety of services around the Quad Cities. From animal shelters,
this little kitten's name is Phoenix,
to museums.
So I brought another thing to show you, all right?
Very cool.
And everything in between. We'll keep you up to date with upcoming events. Have an event or organization you want to discuss with John? Send us an email to get an interview set up. And make sure to watch Keeping Up in the Quad Cities on our channel or stream it online on MC22.net.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. I'm Tara Nichols, and behind me is a spectacular new facility full of the latest and greatest technology in the world of esports that has brought together 50 athletes from around the globe to compete in the newest varsity program at Augustana College.
I know Alvin, but I can't.
Okay, not so nice.
I want to talk about that a little bit, that recruiting process, the specific games, in different style games, because I have to imagine that at that level, there are different skill sets. You're better at one thing than another, and that would impact how you go about recruiting to build what this program needs.
You know, so there's a number of ways that we recruit. I was just at the Iowa High School State Championship in Davenport this past week, and going and watching players live, and making that connection with them, making a connection with their coaches. I've gone through and visited high schools and junior colleges, but it's also video games. We have an opportunity to go online. Yeah. We're looking international, and we have that ability to look international. In our first recruiting class, we had 2 students from Mongolia. To think, like, we made a connection with 2 students that are 17 hours away by plane. To come here to play Valorant.
I always liked the US since I was a kid, and my family is kind of like US influenced a lot. So the idea of like studying abroad has been like there since like I was in primary school, I think. I have never played games before. I think I started playing games like 2 years ago.
Okay.
This Valorant is the game that I currently play for esports team. And it was actually my first game ever. And then I really liked it. And I really liked the game as well. So when Joe kind of started like the esports kind of thing, I was like, this is so interesting because like I'm a competitive player. And I feel like being able to compete in like a team kind of environment and like compete for like the school, it's like something that I want to do.
So right now, just like a basketball team, they're looking for a certain skill set. There's two things we're breaking this. We're looking for players for certain games, but then within the games, we're looking for certain players to play certain roles within those games. Who are the right people to fill those roles while also coming in and being good Vikings and being able to live up to that mission, not just our program, but as a college.
Joe was telling me a lot of the players on this roster in various games are quite young and quite inexperienced in terms of the competitive gaming scene. So what's the biggest learning curve for these athletes coming in and getting your perspective on how to be better within that League of Legends gameplay?
The biggest learning curve is definitely how to play as a team. Most of these guys have an idea of what solo, possibly duo, or at least playing with friends is, but the competitive scene is different. You're communicating team-wide. If you're trying to make a decision, it's not just going to impact you at that point, it's impacting everyone else, and they can communicate through that. But if you're all not on the same page, it's going to rip your game apart.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with like the gaming industry, I would say. It's not very like friendly towards female. So before that, when I was playing like with like people on the internet, it's not so much of a fun experience. So like when I actually got into like playing with the teams, which is like people that I actually know and they know me, it feels much better. Playing with like, okay, I have people who actually want to talk to me. Actually, I want to like play with me and understand me.
You know, we have 50 players on our roster. Only 5 of them played in high school. And that's the big difference between traditional sports and collegiate esports is that students are still learning to play competitively. You know, a basketball, football, soccer player, whatever it may be, they've been playing competitively since they're 5 years old. So it's also learning that angle of it.
You mentioned a couple of partnerships that have given you a cool opportunity for some of that development in a particular kind of way, whether it's biometrics or wearable kinds of research, data gathering sort of thing. So tell me a little bit about some of those things and what they do for your program.
Yeah. Back in November 21, Fit Gamer, which has now turned into one of our partners, launched a brand new app. And there's one of their employees had posted something in a group online, and I reached out to them and said, hey, do you partner with any colleges? They're like, well, not right now. And that's turned into a partnership plan for them. And with the partnership, it's allowed us to really have access to high-level well-being and mental conditioning coaching for our players, talking about things like sleep, nutrition, what it means to be taking care of your body, and physical conditioning are all really important things because we know the science behind that is going to be healthy in the brain. That's blossomed into a partnership with another organization called Carrera, which is a biometrics research firm. And we just started working with them recently, looking at eye tracking, pupil size the measurement of a pupil size, to heart rate, to brainwave activity, to see how can we develop our athletes in a better, more efficient way.
What is your perspective on kind of the rise of these programs in colleges and universities, and what that brings to the opportunity to have something like this?
I think there's two things going on. I think that on one hand you have this growing industry that is not, if not millions, maybe even billions of dollars worth in terms of competition, sponsorship deals, live streaming. You know, it's split into many categories. A lot of people either competing in these tournaments where you can win like multiple millions of dollars, or maybe not even that high, it could be thousands of dollars. I believe when I was here competing, I believe it was like you could win a couple $1,000s in terms of scholarships for your college education. And in terms of careers after Augustana, if you perform well enough, teams might be willing to sign you on, similar to a sports team, for example. And then you also have the side of attracting new students to the college. So what Augustana can now do is show potential students, hey, we know that this is a field you might be interested in, and we are putting the money into it to allow you to excel in this field.
Coming up, we'll take a look at Augustana's Valorant team and how they won the first conference championship in program history. You're watching Inside Sports.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All Mediacom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your Mediacom account. Not a Mediacom cable subscriber? Mediacom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. After a successful first semester as a varsity sport, the Augustana Esports program is looking for even more from this point forward.
Taking out Draco. Taking out Kiwu. Oh!
People who are not familiar with the game itself, what are some of the skills that are required to be a successful competitive Valorant player?
Some of the skills involved, there's a lot of patience involved. Being able to communicate well with a team to coordinate different plays. The game is very based around team play. So if you can, execute certain sites within the game, so different bomb sites where you plant the bomb, you can have better success if you can communicate well. But also a lot of things come down to how do you aim? What are your thoughts behind the scenes when it's not coming to team play? Your intuition.
Most of the time our chemistry is built at practice, and we just talk, we have fun between whatever we're doing, whatever we're working on. We see each other outside of practice, we just try to talk as much as we possibly can, and it kind of just builds it. When it comes to in-game, it's everything. Teamwork is everything. You can have your solo player, but we're at a level right now to where you can't just rely on one person to carry the whole team to victory.
We've got some practice going on behind us. I know you guys practice multiple days a week in between your games and things like that. What does a practice day look like? Are you working on specific things based on what your last experience was, or is it just kind of working on whatever it is you have in mind individually?
It's kind of a trial and error process. We have someone online. We have an FPS coach that's like 200 in like North America or something like that. And he'll come in, he'll have us play a game, he'll watch what we're doing and then analyze it and then tell us this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you need to change, this is what you need to keep doing. And as a team, he'll go there and then he'll kind of break it down as individuals.
Valorant's not like a traditional FPS shooter, which I'm used to, like a more Call of Duty. It's really fast paced and everything. So like getting into a competitive Valorant scene, I really had to slow everything down and kind of like take a more like methodical approach to it. But we have a really, really good coach. Him working through like the very minor details, which like kind of makes or breaks a team compared to other teams. Working with him on those small details is kind of what's elevated me the most.
Let's go! Give me some of that, bro.
Talk a little bit about the success last year with the Valorant Blue team, conference champions, then having these banners up on the wall for a number of different games. It's going to feel good walking into this awesome facility with this varsity team and already having some banners on the wall.
It's great. I just thought, I just remember there being a lot of positive energy and just everyone was excited that we were winning every week and that we were progressing towards possibly taking home a championship and a trophy.
Yeah, it was really cool because this is the first year it's been a thing. So just to see it be so successful right off the bat is really cool. Our team was great last season. That final day of the championship, I was panicking because we need to get this. We went through this whole entire thing undefeated, and if we stop here, it's just that would be awful. But yeah, the highlight was definitely that night. I had a whole weight off my shoulders that night, and I was so happy.
There was a couple like rounds here and there where we'd get down, but I mean, everyone's like enthusiasm throughout the games is kind of like what elevated us the most, I think. Because even if it was a bad round, we were still laughing about it, we were still having a good time, but we would correct it there and there, and then we would move on to it. For me, the championship game was like really cool because our captain, Kashav, was really sick or something, so we couldn't have him in the finals match, and we ended up going down 1, like we lost the first map, it was best of 5, so we had to get to 3. And yeah, we just kind of like floated through the next 2 games. We got back into like our in-season form and then carried out from there. And then obviously the win was awesome. I mean, it was a lot of Valorant, so like we were all kind of exhausted.
It was very stressful because we played 5 games that day, so it was like 5 hours. We played until like 1 a.m. that day, and it was very stressful. This last map, I don't know what to do. We have to win this. It's so close, and it's 1 a.m. I just want to go to bed. Like, do something about this. But then when we won, it's kind of like, oh, we finally did it. And it's just kind of an amazing feeling that we not only that we win as a team, but like we're the first one who got the championship for the school.
You can go slow, Amy. Slow, Amy. Go slow, Amy.
Okay, so does that add pressure then to repeat some of these conference champions and beyond from there? Because you were able to achieve that last year.
Yeah, it does add a lot of pressure. We gotta come back with the same exact energy, and we're in a whole new league right now because we got bumped up 1. So we're facing a whole different level of competition. What we faced last year was just pure teamwork and stuff like that, just aim and how an individual can play. But now it is a whole nother level to the game that I didn't even know existed. And the FPS coach was like, oh yeah, this exists. By the way, let me break this down for you real quick. And we're working on it.
I think we're slowly like starting to mesh into it, and I mean we're well above the teams that we're fighting for playoff spots right now. And I think as soon as we get to that like back half of the season, we're going to start rolling again because we've kind of understood the play. Again, even going just 1 rank up, the play style is a lot different. It's, again, a lot more methodical. You got to change up a lot of things more often. You can't just rely on your aim as much as I used to in the previous season. And a lot of character changes as well throughout the agents and just stuff that we have to adapt to.
Coming up after the break, we sit down with another conference champion team and a national runner-up who's hungry for more. You're watching Inside Sports.
On the latest episode of QC Eats, we're going to Oh So Sweet by Tiffany. I'm going to spend the whole day here as this place is filled with decadent baked goods, big savory dishes, and plenty of cocktails. I'm Nathan Rehbarger. Check out QC Eats on demand or go to mc22.net for your local listings.
You mentioned your role being different this year than it was last, but a lot of success last year. Within this room for a number of different teams, League of Legends included. What was your perspective on watching and being part of kind of how that developed from the beginning of the year through the successful run that there was competitively?
I got to like observe a lot of the higher moments and also some of the lower moments. Like anytime that there was a game that we lost, I took that kind of personally, but because of that, like I got a better understanding for what we need to be doing in games in order to be more productive and more effective.
Yeah, last season was really interesting for us, especially from a standpoint of having all new players, having new people come in, having like a brand new facility to work with and grow. And just the first day with my team, I was just so excited and we played really well. And then from there we carried on and almost went undefeated until the last game, but we squeaked it out and we won the championship. What I learned most from winning is that it doesn't equate to total skill level in a way. You can be winning against people that you think are pretty decent, and then you can go against somebody that you don't think is that decent and get absolutely steamrolled. A lot of it comes to ego, especially when gamers have an immense amount of ego when it comes to their game. They think they're the best. And in some instances, it's really good to have ego because it gives you this confidence. You're like, okay, I can go into this game and perform really well. But winning those games built up our ego to a point that it was like, okay, we're going into this championship, we're just going to 3-0 or we're going to go home for the night and we're going to celebrate. And they gave us a huge run for our money in our first 2 losses of the season ever. And our backs were against the wall. We were furious. At the end of the day, through all those wins, we realized what we needed to do most in those situations.
So let's talk a little bit about that fall season and your run up to a national runner-up banner that on the wall over there. I know I can already see it, the runner-up part.
It's just a little bit, yeah.
But let's talk about getting to that point and what that experience was like.
Coming in, I thought it was a completely different thing than what it was going to be. So, like the game that I'm playing now, I had never really played before in 2K. I always was like doing like 3v3s or 5v5s, and so just playing like one-on-one is kind of a newer thing to me. But I ended up 5-3, I believe, in the regular season, and then I kind of went on a tear a little bit in the playoffs, and I didn't lose actually till the championship game. So I'm definitely a lot more confident now than I was. Like coming into it, I had no idea what to expect, like how good the other players were going to be, how good I even was going to be. In this spring season right now, I'm 5-0. I'm the last undefeated guy left, so it feels pretty good.
I feel like I might already know the answer to this question, but do you have specific goals for this season?
I think ideally I'd like to win this season. To win the national championship would be very nice, but definitely to get back again would be good again. I mean, the other players that are in the conference are also very good, so ideally I'd like to win, but just to be back would be nice too.
After tasting what that championship was like, I want to do nothing but to win another one. Seriously, I can't explain how bad I want it this season, and I just want a two-peat. I just want another banner, I want another trophy, I want to win as many trophies as it takes to get a trophy case for the esports team.
I was talking to Joe about some of the new like wearable tech and research on different eye movement and heart rate and all of those things. As a member of this program, how cool is that to have access to things that maybe before it would have been like, oh, I didn't know that was something we were going to be doing, but now you can see a lot of data and a lot of research that maybe gives you a different perspective again on what it is that you're doing and how you're playing.
So like some of the stuff that we've gotten used has made me a lot more cognizant of like my daily like functionalities, because one of the big things that we've been stressing is being consistent in our activities. So we want to be able to like go day to day, having enough sleep, having enough food, calories and whatnot, having enough water, making sure that all of our necessities are covered so that we can perform optimally. So last semester I worked really hard on my sugar intake and just making sure that wasn't overboard and I was actually maintaining a healthy relationship to that.
The second I heard about it, I was like, wow, like we're one of the only colleges in the nation that are allowed to and given the opportunity to have all these resources and biometric training and eye tracking over there for being able to see what you're focusing on most on the screen can help you free up mentally, like realizing like, okay, why am I focusing on this so much in the game? Is it something that I should really be focusing on? Or is it something that I can kind of put to the back of my mind and forget about? These group of guys, when I go to the gym, I see 2 or 3 of them in the gym always. And it's really incredible to see people caring about their health on top of the fact that playing games.
So you mentioned if we were to tell your 6-year-old self
yes.
that's what you were doing, it would be a very cool moment. Do you feel like you are living the dream of that 6-year-old?
I am. I could not have put it better. I think I am living the dream right now. If I could go back, he would be jealous. He would be jealous and he would want to be me. And that's all you can really ask for, I guess.
Ever since probably 2nd or 3rd grade, my uncles always played video games, so I'd go over there and play, and then I think it was 3rd grade I got my first system for myself, and then ever since it was constant battles with my parents, go to bed, get off the game, all this different stuff. So after I won my first game, I texted my dad and I was like, see, all these video games I played actually had some sort of meaning.